Salutations, YouTube. We got a bit of a special Christmas treat on this podcast in that we have double reactions for Batman. The Dark Knight Rises, or as it's more officially known. I did mention in my Sherlock Holmes review that, yes, I saw the Batman trailer. I understand, I was surprised. Some people got the old trailer, the old teaser trailer that was just really basically Gordon kind of saying, "Oh, I'm all beat up." Which I have a few things. There's some interesting clues in the prologue that I think are going to tie back into that. But I saw that, and I also have now caught. It has leaked the 6-minute prologue, which is rather interesting, and I think the two of them combined provide a very good starting off point for really getting a feel for how this movie is going to be. And I think it's going to be quite good, although I have checked out a bunch of other people's reaction trailers, or not reaction trailers, but reaction videos to these, and my god, it seems like a lot of people are not able to put two and two together with some stuff. Now, I grant it, I don't know. I mean, I get the 6-minute premiere, why they're not having that on YouTube and all that, but for whatever reason, Warner Brothers is taking down the goddamn trailer from YouTube. I don't get it. Why? You want people to see said movie. Yes, the hardcore Bat fans will go to see Sherlock Holmes 2 just to see that film. Don't worry. For every casual fan, though, they're not going to go out and buy another $9 ticket just to see the trailer. They want to see the actual trailer. Put it online. I don't get it. G.I. Joe had the right idea. They have it on Machinima. Everyone go and watch it. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone is talking about the Batman trailer, yes. But there are a lot of people that have yet to see it. Are just waiting. This is why people go to torrent something in the first place. And then the big thing Hollywood's always afraid of. Well, I torrent a trailer. There's some other stuff on this website. Let me torrent the actual movie now. Yes. I don't get it. I think it's counterproductive to their end goals, but this is not a video about why films should release all their trailers on YouTube or at least free on the internet. But the actual trailer and prologue. The trailer is certainly impressive. A little bit more keen on not as much plot details, obviously, from a trailer. It's not supposed to, but we did get some. We got to see Selena Kyle being here, and it looks like a New Year's celebration. So they do have an excuse to give her like a mask, very reminiscent of her old, Catwoman mask. Although characters had several different iterations over the years. It had one of those old style, just covers the eyes masks, which really don't help out in covering up your identity. But she wore one of those for a little while, and one of her costume variations. Reason to bring her back now. It's it looks like a New Year's Eve celebration. But she is talking with Bruce Wayne in that, and there's some rather interesting clues in there. One, she is talking about, a lot of people apparently haven't picked up on this, and Christopher Nolan did explain this in an interview. The Dark Knight Rises takes place 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight. The reason for that is, plot-wise, they wanted to make it feel like The Dark Knight, the resolution of the plot in that film, actually had an impact. That by Batman taking the blame and putting it on himself, it did break the back of the mafia by keeping that Harvey Dent as the figure that kind of sacrificed himself on behalf of Gotham, preserved all of his convictions that he had earned, that the mob's back was broken. Pun intended, Bat fans. And Gotham has recovered. It's been good. It's been peaceful 8 years. They talk about Gordon. Gordon's giving a speech, and you hear two cops in the trailer talk about, I hear the mayor's going to get rid of him next summer. And I'm like, what? But the guy's a hero. He's like, yeah, he's a war hero. It's peacetime. Implying they don't need him anymore. It's really kind of showing, really kind of hitting, and I guarantee it's going to be a theme in there, at least in the beginning of the trailer. It's like, have we finished our goals? Now what do we do? Well, you can never rest on your laurels, apparently, is the lesson I think they're going to go for. But the idea is really that by Batman making that sacrifice, he actually did accomplish something. Now you gotta keep it. Some people have been thinking, no, this shows as soon as Batman goes away. And the reason I bring this all up is because some of these reaction trailers, reaction videos, are like, well, it goes to show if Batman goes away, immediately things go to shit. No, actually, things were pretty good. But we bring in Batman. We bring in Bane, and I guarantee you, didn't really hit anything. I mean, it was more the first trailer hinted at this, that there is a connection with the League of Shadows. There's a stronger connection if you watch the prologue. In the prologue, the guys that Bane is with are absolutely 100% dedicated. At one scene, Bane's escaping from a crashing airplane there. One of the guys, says they're expecting one of us to be in the plane. The guy just goes, oh, but the guy's reaction is basically like, oh, okay. It's like, we started the fire. He's like, the fire rises. Basically implying, we're getting serious with this. Obviously, the guys he's with are not mercenaries. They are committed to some sort of cause, most likely League of Shadows. I think that's what they call it in the movies, not League of Assassins. But heavy hints that he's part of that organization. There's talk of having Talia al Ghul come in. We didn't really see her in the trailer, so we'll find out how that all ties in. Heading back to the trailer as opposed to the prologue, we also got to see a rather cool shot of this, the kind of destruction Bane is bringing to Gotham. Is he detonates, and this is probably going to be one of those signature shots from the film. He detonates a bomb in a football stadium and causes the stadium floor to collapse. Not the populace, not the stands, just the interior of the stadium. And it's a hilarious shot of a football player running to make the touchdown as everyone's collapsing. He has no idea what's going on behind him until he turns around after he makes the touchdown. There is one hilarious player that actually dives for the tackle and misses him, and the floor falls right underneath him, and it's, oh, what the hell? I'm excited for that one. I'm being somewhat muffled because I'm recording this at like 12 o'clock at night. Sorry, guys. But it's actually, I got a little laugh out of that. But it kind of shows like the plot, not the plot, but the Bane's stylization. He's not going for mass casualties. He's being a little bit more meticulous. He might be kind of really showing, I think, he really is more dangerous than the Joker. Not only besides the fact that, unlike the Joker, when it comes down to fist fight, even in this version, it's more realistic, so therefore they're not Supermen. Still, it's quite clear that Bane's probably going to be quite capable of kicking Batman's ass, and very much likely. At one scene, we see what looks like Bane's hand holding a broken Batman cowl, and there's been some rumors on the internet that Batman's back does get broken in this. We see at the beginning of the trailer, Batman, you see, Christian Bale, he's got a cane. You see real quick, he puts down a cane as he's looking into a reflection from a piece of silverware. Kind of showing how he gets beaten really badly, possibly permanently. The rumor is that one of the other characters in the film is going to take on the Batman mantle, something that's very much a departure from the comic books, if that's what happens. I'll be curious to see how they do it. Certainly there's a precedent for this. If anyone's a fan of, any Batman fans out there knows of Batman Beyond, where he gives away Batman, and that makes a new Batman. Bruce Wayne finds a new guy to replace him as Batman. So as far as I'm concerned, hey, maybe we'll get a Batman Beyond movie sometime in the future. Technically, it's supposed to take place like 8 years in the future, right? So this works. It's technically in the future. But so there is somewhat of a precedent in the comic books for somebody taking over Batman's role. I mean, it's not like it's the Green Lantern where there is a very clear precedent in the comics of new Green Lanterns taking Hal Jordan's place. But I should talk a little bit about the prologue. First things first, I don't get why people are getting confused about who the authority figure is in the prologue. Basically, in the prologue, a bunch of guys who were, black bagged. They've been prisoners. They have the black bag. It's a CIA op. The guy says outright that he works for the CIA, that he's a CIA agent. He talks about calling Langley. i.e. Langley, Virginia, where the CIA is headquartered. Some people are saying, oh, it's a police officer. I'm not sure who he is. They make several references to it. Pay attention, guys. Anyway, Bain sets it up, brings them in. They basically, apparently they're picking up a doctor. He's like, well, what are these guys here for? He's like, well, they worked for the masked mercenaries. He's like, yeah, the CIA agents Bain? We'll take them along. Ooh. Obviously showing that Bain has a repertoire in some part of the world. I heard it's supposed to be in Africa, but I can't confirm that. Gets on the plane. The CIA does the CIA agent does the trick of hanging somebody out the window, saying they're gonna throw him out. First guy that talks gets to live. Doesn't shoot him, but just fires the trigger out the plane, making it seem like the guy's dead. But Bain actually catches on. He's like, maybe these guys aren't talking because, who shoots a man right before they throw him out of a plane? They make mention of the mask. I think this is gonna be one of those character lines. He's like, no one cared to know me until I wore the mask. But in this one, he does state that if he doesn't have the mask, he's in intense pain. So it'll be very interesting how they work with that in the plot. But he basically is saying, this is all part of our plan. It's all part of the plan. Where they basically, Bain's guys got caught or inserted themselves onto the plane just to see if the CIA knew anything about what they were doing. They really want is this doctor that the CIA was there to pick up. And just as he reveals this, a bigger plane comes in, actually very reminiscent of the Operation Hong Kong in The Dark Knight, where another team of guys come down, attach some cables to the plane that they're in. It's a smaller plane, and they basically hijack it. Like the wings rip off, the thing's dangling, they tear off the back, use some explosives, pull off the back, drop on in, kill the CIA guards that are in there. And a little preposterous. It looks realistic, but if you really think about all the variables, like this is like really, that's a big risk for that operation to go off just to confirm some info. Where was I? Oh yes, they get in. He takes the doctor. Interesting thing that people seem to be getting confused, and I saw even one person make a reaction video to this who had the script of the prologue in front of them and still wasn't able to figure it out. They are doing a blood transfusion. They grab the doctor's arm and they have a dead body with them that looks a lot like the doctor. They stick the needle into him, and the blood goes into the corpse's body. That's because he says, and this goes to what I said earlier. He says they're expecting one of us on board. Everyone has to die. That's because they're obviously giving him the blood. So when the CIA does its test, or finds the plane crash, it's going to do a DNA test on everyone to see who was on the plane. If they're using a blood, we'll assume they're using a blood and not, they're just not going to cut off a piece of flesh. Kind of a risk there, Bain. Didn't consider that, did you? They'll test and it'll come back as the doctor's blood, so they'll assume the doctor is dead. This is what I find interesting. They apparently want this doctor for some sort of research he's done. This is what I said earlier about it connecting back to that first trailer where Gordon's kind of all messed up. I'm wondering if he developed some sort of virus or disease or something, and that's what's affecting Gordon. Whether Gordon gets this blast of stuff, and at some point it's kind of killing him. Very interesting that happens. They might be tying it in with the Venom ideal. We might see that element come in, where Bane kind of super jacks up at one point. I don't know. That doesn't quite seem like a Nolan style, but we'll see. Or if they do that, they might then explain maybe Batman gets a hold of it after he gets his back broken and repairs it, fixes up his back or something. But yeah, that's my kind of hint that I'm going to go at. We do see how it looks like with Bane's operation, how he's going to tear down Arkham. Is he looks like he's going to wind up releasing the prisoners that were in there. He's got the bat pods, the Batmobiles. Looks like military versions. I'm curious if they're gonna write that as saying that uh, after they had the close call with the accountant in the previous film, figuring out whether they were now going to start selling them in small commercial quantities, like paramilitary groups or something, to kind of to cover up the fact that eventually someone's going to go, didn't the Army test that vehicle? Wasn't it maybe at Wayne Tech? It gives them a little bit more of a plausible deniability, saying, yeah, we've been selling these things. Yeah, Batman just took the first one. Because it's obviously they're going to tie that in somehow with thematically how Batman's weapons seem to be being used. In fact, this is actually really good. They're using Batman's weapons to destroy Gotham, not just in that physical weapon of the tumbler, but he does say as Bane's going to rappel out of the plane, Dr. Service is like, now, Doctor, now is not the time for fear. That comes later. I love the way he says it, too. Very nonchalantly. Not maniacally. Some people I've seen it repeat it and say it very maniacally. It's rather much more nonchalant, and I think that works much better for the line. But he obviously is going to try to use fear to scare the shit out of the population. So it really looks like he's going to be he's the anti-Batman. And a slightly different anti-Batman than Joker. Bane looks like Joker is the exact opposite of Batman. He is the yin to Batman's yang. Looks like Bane is this Batman gone evil. Somebody that's taking Batman's tools and possibly even ultimate end ideals and twisting them for evil. Even down to the fact that he's wearing a mask. Which goes again to what they said, I think, which is going to be the character line. No one cared about me until I wore a mask. Same thing with Bruce Wayne. It wasn't really till he put on the persona of Batman. He put on the mask till he made a difference. We see another masked character now that's going to come in and try to use that same methodology to bring down all of Batman's work. Very interesting, the thematics. That's why I say he's more of an anti-Batman rather than it's a polar opposite. He's the anti-hero. He's not a real anti-hero, but you get the idea. He's not a villain. They have villains, you have heroes, you have anti-heroes. Bane probably sees himself. He's an anti-hero in respect to the Joker. Because the Joker just wants destruction. I think Bane's going to be more of a justice guy, but again, League of Shadows type of guy. He's going to be evil, but a different kind of evil. There's chaotic evil, and this is lawful evil. I don't know. We're getting into the philosophicals and really need a lot more information from the film, but knowing Christopher Nolan, it'll be very deep. It will be interesting to see how Catwoman plays in this, because her line is very reminiscent of some degree of the kind of Occupy Wall Street things. And I think the plot was written way too far back to really be taking advantage of that. I think if anyone starts saying it online, you have to think that the script was probably written well over a year ago, well before Occupy Wall Street really picked up. But it might be hitting at a few of the same sentiments that obviously have existed ever since this recent financial mess happened. There's been some level of talk about the top, how much wealth the wealthy have versus the amount that the rest of us do. So I don't think if anyone starts saying it's she's part of the 90, she's part of OWS. Nah. I mean, yes, the timing, it seems like it would, but you have to remember how long it takes for a big budget film like this to actually get off its feet. And that basically means, at least to me, is nah. Because at least a year and a half that script was written. But it is interesting how she says, you've all been living so large and expecting the rest of us to take so little. So it might show that there is some sort of within Gotham that maybe things have not been as perfect as they seem to be. Or that just might be her own giving an idea of her philosophy of why she steals. She might not be tied in with Bane at all. She might be. The way she kind of says there's a storm coming, all that stuff, might indicate she's aware of it. She might be somewhat of a pawn that's being used by Bane to acquire stuff. She might just be purely a third party that kind of sees what's going on and realizes, she's going to have to actually become a hero. It'd be interesting to see. Anyway, I've gone on for over 20 minutes now on these. There's obviously there's a couple other little things I could poke at. Other people are going to be poking at them. Sure, other people will, of course, be poking at them. And, well, if you've already listened to a 20-minute video on this, you're probably listening to a few others, so I'm sure you will hear them. Well, so I think that is about it. So signing off for now, guys. See ya.